the book today is if you're in my office, it's already too late. And it's a book written by an author. He's also an attorney by the name of James J. Sexton. Apart from being an attorney, he is also divorced. So I think
Yes.
based on that, he writes from experience. But he has handled over 1,000 divorces and he has seen all kinds of issues coming in there. And he gives very, unfortunately, his book is very raw, unfiltered, both in language and expression. Thus making it a little bit unsuitable for younger readers. And that's something that I did express at some point about it. Nevertheless, the content itself is very good, especially for people who are married or people that are planning to get married in future. There is so much to learn out of it, and there are so many takeaways from that book. The main themes that as I was reading through it is insights into what leads couples to divorce, and these are the reasons that come to his table when to his office when everything else has failed, and they start to say these are the issues. And one of the main things that he found being a problem was communication inside of the marriage. There are a lot of issues, but it looks like communication is the main cause, because had communication been there from the beginning, a lot of the issues that end up coming to his office would never have been in the first place. And then there is also issues that relate to understanding each person's commitment, what excuse me, what each person is required to contribute, what the expectation of their contribution is, excuse me, and how they contribute. So as I've said, the main causes are lack of communication, and but there's also issues of financial stress. Now here we're looking at two scenarios. The first scenario is when there is not enough financial resources in the marriage or in the family. That in itself does cause a lot of stress, but it's also where financial management is not being shared equally among the partners in the marriage. That also is an issue that usually ends up at the divorce court. Then the other main problem is lack of intimacy in the marriage, where people are now emotionally detached from each other to a point where they eventually are also physically distanced from each other. And those issues, I think, are the main ones, but they are not the only ones. There are other issues, such as parenting issues. There are issues that have to do with the changing values and goals, because as we grow and mature from being the younger people that we were when we got married, our values and our goals change with us. And those, if they are unchecked, can be a reason for a failure in the marriage. They are also he also found that there is a lack of emotional intelligence in some cases. In other words, um, people do get married, and sometimes we expect that the other person will grow up, but they don't grow up, and the emotional intelligence remains retarded for longer than expected. And that in itself, when there is that lack of emotional intelligence in the family, it does cause problems. In also you may find that it contributes to the lack of communication, which we have already spoken about. But before I go to the, which I want to call the big seven, the issues that we are going to be talking about today, let's just talk about communication. I want to quote from the book where he says the number one reason couples get divorced is not because of money or sex or in laws. It's because they don't know how to communicate with each other. And I could extend that and say they don't know how to communicate with each other about money, sex, or in laws. And so you have to be able to communicate about everything in the marriage for the marriage to not only survive but to grow. And when there are certain things that are not spoken about in the marriage, it starts to cause problems in the future, because a lot of the issues that are not said or spoken about, they tend to manifest themselves at a later stage, and at that point it's too late to fix them. And that is the problem with lack of communication. It's really a very, very big issue. So let us go, and I'm gonna, as I've said, there's about seven issues. The main first one would be communication. Here we are talking about active listening, when we can genuinely listen to another person, not only the words they say, but be attached to even the emotions, their emotions at the time that they are communicating with us. To be able to listen to the things that are not said in the words is in itself a skill. And many people do lack that skill. And if they do not lack it, they do not practice it, especially when in the home there are so many dynamics inside of the family structure that people don't prioritize active listening and communication in their lives. And that also goes with open expression, where individuals are unable or feel intimidated to be open and express themselves inside of the marriage. Now, we may think that this is not a big deal, but for a divorce lawyer, he was amazed to see so many people that come with the issue that they are unable to express themselves. And in most cases, it could be unfounded fear, where perhaps had they opened up, there would not have been an issue. But it's always like people, sometimes depending on personalities, people don't feel confident enough to express themselves, and rather would then either bottle things up or feel that they are misunderstood because they are not expressive enough themselves. Then that leads us to the last point about communication, that's emotional safety, where there is not enough safe space for communicating with each other. We will deal with this again, I think, at some point as we go through the main points, because, as we have said, communication is the problem that runs through all the other problems that we see in marriage.